The Jesus who healed everyone told this mother no. Not once, 3 times. The third one is so harsh that readers still flinch at it. 2,000 years later, she doesn't leave, she doesn't go quiet, she doesn't agree she deserves nothing. On the third no, she says something so sharp it stops him in his tracks. That one sentence is why the door of salvation opened to outsiders at all. To you. You are watching Jesus Tell Tales. If true stories like this are why you're here, subscribe. And write Matthew 15 in the comments before you keep going. Stay, because this changes what you believe on the days God stays silent. Jesus is worn out, crowd after crowd, argument after argument. So he does something almost unthinkable for a Jewish teacher of his time. He leaves Israel entirely and heads for the coast, for Tyre and Sidon. Mark says he entered a house and didn't want anyone to know he was there. The Son of God, looking for one room where nobody could find him. Tyre and Sidon were not a neutral place to hide. This was Phoenician land, the home of Baal worship. Jezebel, the queen who nearly broke Israel's faith, came from this coast. Elijah faced her prophets on Mount Carmel, not far from here. Isaiah and Ezekiel had aimed their harshest oracles at these 2 cities. And Jesus had just spent the morning arguing that nothing unclean comes from outside a person. Then he got up and walked, on purpose, toward the most unclean ground on the map. He couldn't stay hidden. Mark says word of him had already crossed the border. A woman living there had heard it, and she had a daughter who needed him. Picture the nights in that house. A girl tormented, no rest, no explanation. Picture her mother trying every remedy, every local priest, all of it useless. Then a rumor, a healer has crossed the border. It's all she has. It's enough. Scripture never gives her a name. Matthew calls her the Canaanite woman. Mark is more specific, Greek and Syrophoenician by birth. Every phrase stacks another reason she has no right to approach him at all. Wrong nation, wrong religion, no covenant, no priest, no standing of her own. And still she comes. Matthew says she came crying out. The Greek is krazo, a raw, desperate shout. It's the word used for the blind beggar, for people at the very end of themselves.
Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon.
Stop on that title. Son of David is precise, deeply Jewish messianic language. It's the exact term his own disciples were still working out among themselves. A pagan woman on pagan soil already knows exactly who she's talking to. She has clearly done her homework. She arrives with the perfect words. And Jesus answers her with nothing at all. Not silence like he didn't hear. Matthew says plainly, not a word, nothing. Imagine the road, the heat, her voice going raw from shouting, and nothing coming back, as if she and her daughters simply didn't count. Anyone who has prayed hard into real silence knows exactly that feeling. It's not the first time heaven has looked silent to someone crying out. Psalm 22 says, "My God, I cry by day, and you do not answer." Those are the very words Jesus himself will later cry from the cross. The silence isn't proof of being unheard, but she doesn't know that yet. She keeps going anyway. She does not treat the silence as a final answer. It's the disciples who can't take it, not Jesus.
Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us.
Translate that, get rid of her, she's making a scene, she doesn't belong here. Then comes a second no, and this one is words, not silence.
I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That isn't a no to her request, it's a no to what she is. It's the wrong side of a line she didn't draw and can't erase. Most people would leave right there. She kneels instead and closes the distance.
Lord, help me.
2 words, no title this time, no theology, just a mother on her knees. And now the third no. The one that has stopped readers cold for 2,000 years.
It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs.
Sit with that a second. She's just been compared to a dog. In front of a crowd. Here's what most translations bury. There were 2 Greek words for dog. Kion meant the wild street scavenger. That word is not used here. Jesus says kainarion, a diminutive, a little dog, a house pet, not a stray. In a home of that time, small dogs lived indoors. Under the table, at the children's feet. It's still blunt, but it's the picture of a house pet, not a mangy outsider. There's a door left open inside, what sounds like a door slamming shut. The question is whether she'll find it. She finds it immediately.
Yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table.
Watch what she just did. She doesn't argue the metaphor, she agrees to all of it. Yes, there's a table. Yes, the children eat first. Yes, she's the little dog. Then she finds the one thing his own picture didn't account for. A dog under the table isn't outside the house, it's inside it. And crumbs fall on their own, without taking anything from anyone at the table. Notice her word for crumbs too. Sishan, another diminutive, the smallest scrap there is. He said little dog. She answers, then just give me the smallest possible crumb. She isn't asking him to leave Israel's table. She's asking for what falls from it anyway. It's humble and it's razor sharp in the same breath. Jesus doesn't argue back. He doesn't soften it or correct it. He simply yields.
Woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish.
Her daughter was healed at that exact hour. Great is your faith is one of the rarest lines in Matthew's entire gospel. Only one other person ever hears something like it. A Roman centurion, another outsider, whose faith Jesus says he hasn't found anywhere in Israel. The only two people commended this highly in Matthew are a Roman soldier and a pagan mother. Notice too how he addresses her. Woman, the same warm word he'll use for his own mother, not the tone of someone trying to get rid of her. And her daughter wasn't even there. She never sees the moment it happens. She's asking for a miracle for someone who doesn't even know this fight is happening. Mark tells us Jesus's exact words. Go, the demon has left your daughter. Not for your suffering, for this saying, for this argument, for this faith. She walks home on nothing but a promise and finds her daughter healed, at peace. Was Jesus testing her on purpose, or was something else happening in that moment? Scholars genuinely disagree, and I won't pretend there's one tidy answer. Some think the whole exchange was staged for the disciples who wanted her gone, so they'd see the greatest faith that day belonged to the person they wanted removed. Others point to Luke, where Jesus himself grew in wisdom and stature, and wonder if this moment held something genuinely unfolding, not just performed. Both readings have serious people behind them. I'm not going to force one. What the text says clearly either way, she did not stop. That's the part that's certain. And this story isn't sitting alone in Matthew's gospel. Look at where it's placed. Just before it, Jesus feeds 5,000 in Israel, 5 loaves and 2 fish. Right after it, on the Gentile side of the lake, he feeds 4,000 more. And the crowd, Matthew says, glorified the God of Israel, the language of outsiders. Finding something for the very first time. Bread for Israel. Then, at the center, a Canaanite mother arguing for crumbs. Then bread for the nations. She stands exactly at the hinge between the two. Someone had to be first to cross that line and not be turned away completely. It was a woman Scripture never even names. She isn't the only one who held on like that without letting go. Jacob wrestled all night with a stranger and said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Same grip, same refusal to release an unclear moment. Later, Jesus tells his own disciples about a persistent widow and an unjust judge. So that, he says, they would always pray and never lose heart. This mother wasn't bending the rules by refusing to quit. She was living them early. So think for a second about where you actually are in this story. There's the place of the crowd who thinks grace has rules about who qualifies. There's the place of the disciples, not cruel. Just tired, just done, ready to move on. And there's a harder place, the one who prayed for years and quietly stopped. Not from rebellion, from exhaustion. It hurt too much to keep asking and hearing nothing. If that's you, this woman has no scorn for you, only her example. She had every reason to walk away and chose one more step instead. Not a triumphant step, a step on her knees, with 2 words trembling on her lips. Faith isn't always a shout of victory. Sometimes it's simply refusing to leave. She asked for the smallest thing that exists, a crumb. What nobody else would miss. And what came back to her house was the largest thing she could ever receive. The size of her request never shrank the size of what she was given. So if you've prayed into silence so long you've nearly stopped, hear this part. Worth was never the question. Whether you'll keep standing at the door is. She heard no 3 times. The 4th thing she heard was, "Great is your faith." If this reached you today, tell me in the comments who you're praying for right now. Just a name or a word, so you're not carrying it alone in silence. Subscribe to Jesus Telltales, and we'll see you at the next one.